Hello. Happy Monday. So excited to be with you guys again this morning. Let me go live all the different places. Hello, hello. Hi, Instagram. Hi, Facebook. Super excited to see everybody and chat today about what your clothes say about you. So, welcome to this week's Monday morning style session. I'm excited to chat with you guys this morning, and I wanted to make a couple of announcements before I get started with today's topic. So, the first announcement is that I do have my fall Monday masterclass series kicking off. I'm considering like we're kicking it off today. I know that fall is not for a full month, but in fashion terms, we're a month into fall. So, we're kicking off the fall masterclass series today. The masterclass is at 11 a.m. The link is below this video everywhere for you to sign up and join us. Even if you can't make it live, you definitely want to sign up because you will get the replay and you get a ton of other stuff that I'm sending out. Some really awesome stuff this next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that my fall modern classics wardrobe guide is just about to come out. And again, another reason to get on the masterclass list because the people on that list are going to get it first. Okay, so let's get started. I'm excited to talk about what your clothes say about you. And at the end of the day, why I'm going to double down on why I think that having that the advice to just wear what you want, wear what you want. Wear what you want, wear whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like, over 50, we shouldn't care what other people think about us. Like, let go of other people's expectations. You do you, boo. Wear what you want. Wear whatever you feel like wearing is the worst advice possible. First of all, just for a second, just allow me this rant for a second. Most women, many women, are only now starting to be able to think about what they want because let's face it, life is busy, life is crazy for all of us. By the way, good morning, everybody. Let me know if these glasses are driving you crazy. I forgot to print out my notes in extra large font, so I'm wearing the glasses. If they're too reflective, let me know in the comments. But how do we know what we want if we haven't done that kind of work? If we haven't done any soul searching about what our personal style is, wear what you want might mean that we end up in sweats 7 days a week. And I know, and you know that that's not good for a multitude of reasons. Health and mental health among them. So wear what you want is the worst advice. Another reason that wear what you want and don't care what anybody thinks is horrible advice is because unless you're living on an island by yourself, you should care what other people think. You should care because we have the ability to affect the circumstances, the situations, and the perceptions around us. And why would we not take advantage of that? Why would we ignore the fact that how we present ourselves is a tool that we can use to achieve our goals and to have a certain result in our lives? Why would we ignore that and not utilize that as a tool? So thank you. Good morning, good evening, for those of you in other parts of the world. Happy to have you guys here. So wear what you want is the worst advice. And stop carrying that whole thing that's gone viral about the only thing we should stop wearing over 60, the weight of other people's expectations. Do so at your own risk. If you want to ignore what other people think and feel about you and how they respond to you, do so at your own risk. Just recognizing that you are limiting your ability to achieve certain goals or get a certain result in your life if you are not paying attention to how your clothes the impact that your clothes are having on your circumstances. Okay, so let me get into today's topic, which is what your clothes say about you and why it's important. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of the importance of first impressions and something called enclothed cognition. If you have not heard of enclothed cognition, it's a term that's being thrown around a lot lately. I've heard it brought up a lot. And basically, enclothed cognition is a term that psychologists developed to describe how the symbolic meaning of clothes influences our psychological state. For example, if you were to put on a lab coat, you are going like, like a white lab coat, you're going to feel more like a doctor. And the research shows that um, if you put on a white lab coat, you're going to perform a little bit better on attention tests than if you put on the same coat, but we called it a painter's coat. So just like our mental association with certain items of clothing affects how we perform certain tasks. So I gave you a white coat and I said, this is a doctor's coat. You're going to perform differently than if I give your friend a white coat and tell her that that's a painter's coat. They're going to have a completely different experience in that same coat. So our associations with certain clothing is going to be reflected in our behavior and the outcomes that we have in life. It's not just the garment itself. It's not just the clothing itself. It's the meaning attached to it. So if we can control how we feel based on what we're wearing, why would we not use that as the most powerful tool at our disposal? Let's just say, and admit to ourselves that there are so many things in life that we cannot control. There's so many things. You want a laundry list of the things in my life that I can't control right now? There are so many things, good and bad, in life that we cannot control. And I'm mostly referring to the kind of like the negative things. We've all got things going on in our lives that we wish we're not going a certain way and that we cannot directly impact with at least not in any meaningful way or without a gargantuan amount of effort. This is one of the things that we can control. And when you see that not only do your clothes influence other people, but they influence you and how you show up for your day and how you behave, and also how your brain works, how your mood works, how your energy level works, why would we not use that as a tool? So enclothed cognition refers to how you behave differently because of your associations with what you're wearing. When I wear all black and like minimal jewelry or whatever, I feel like I'm walking in New York City, like I'm cool, like I'm urban, like I'm minimalist. When I wear something bright and colorful and fun, I feel creative and artistic and relaxed. Our clothes affect how we feel. Now, this is why you feel sharper in a blazer than sweats, or more creative in bright colors versus neutrals. Your clothes literally prime your brain to think, act, and perform differently. Ask yourself, what do your clothes make you feel like? That should be the first step before we think about what other people think about our clothes. Ask yourself, how do I feel in these clothes? What are my associations with these clothes? Another example of these associations, good morning, everyone, is maybe cultural or expectations or cultural associations, things that you may have had growing up. One of the cultural associations I have is with the color black. Growing up, my mom always said that black was a color for funerals, and she, to this day, does not wear black. I love black. Black is my best neutral, but I really kind of had to overcome my association with black as being a negative color or a sad color or a color associated with funerals before I felt comfortable really making black a part of my wardrobe. So the very first question we should all be asking ourselves when we get dressed every day is, how do these clothes make me feel? What is my association with these clothes, and how is that association going to impact my day? The next question is, or the next point that I want to make is that clothes are a form of identity and self-expression. They're also a form of nonverbal communication. It's like a personal billboard. I think it's Miuccia Prada who said, I think she said, style is instant language. Style is instant language. Style communicates something before we ever say anything. Good morning. Our clothes reflect our values, our tastes, our lifestyles, even our current mood. So my younger daughter is very much a mood dresser, and many days she's under a lot of pressure at school. She wants to put on something cozy and comforting because her mood needs that kind of emotional support, right? Other days she's feeling a little bit more energetic, a little more lively, and she feels like she's got more bandwidth to put on clothes that are going to make her feel more outwardly focused. So our clothes can really affect our mood. Yes, I love black too. Okay, so someone Now, speaking of nonverbal communication, someone who wears all black might want to signal minimalism, professionalism, or even a desire to blend in. Maybe you see black or whatever your dark neutral is as a way to look chic or polished. Maybe you see black as slimming and flattering, or maybe you just see it as easy, like just, I don't have to think about it. Someone else might see like their bold prints as communicating openness or confidence or playfulness. I know I definitely feel that way in bold prints. So we often dress the role that we want, a promotion, a date, a new identity before we actually become it. It's a way of trying a new identity on. Uh, Yay, Susan, I love that. She said, I'm going to get dressed and put on makeup so it'll be more productive today than yesterday, right now. Yes, yes, 100% it works. And I will tell you that I do that on the days when I need it the most. I'm even more intentional about it. When I wake up, like I woke up on Saturday morning with another migraine, I made myself get dressed and put on makeup because I knew if I didn't, that day was going to be a wash. It was going to be a waste. I was not going to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish in that day. I had a lot going on. I did not want to write off the day. I did not want to put my feet up and just wallow in a migraine all day. I wanted to like salvage what I could of the day. And so in order to do that, I got up and I put my clothes on and I put my lipstick on and I made myself presentable even though I did not feel like it. Even though like it was the last thing I felt like doing. And it turned around my day. It changed my day. I ended up having, like, eventually the migraine went away. I ended up having a productive and positive day. So, we often dress, again, the role we want or dress for the day we want, a promotion, a date, a new identity. One of the things that we can really do with clothes is try on an aspect of who we are becoming or who we want to be. If you want to be a coastal grandma, one of the easiest ways to do that is to try on the coastal grandma aesthetic and see if it feels like you and if it resonates with you. So it's really a way of like exploring different facets of who we are and our personalities. Do you dress for yourself or for others' perception? We should be dressing for both. Ideally, we should be dressing for both. I am not going to go into a law office in crazy clothes because my perception is going to be skewed by the crazy clothes. Now, I could go into an art studio and something fun and creative. So we have to take both into account. How do I want to show up today? What clothes are going to support how I'm feeling today and what my goals are for the day? And then second, how are my clothes going to impact the people around me and maybe the results that I want to get in my life? Okay, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to what our clothes say about us is like cultural and social signals. So fashion is not just personal, it's cultural. What you wear can tie you to a group or it can make you stand out from one. If you are wearing a preppy, if the preppy aesthetic is your aesthetic, it's tying you into the preppy subculture, right? And so this is a way of saying this is who I am. I'm preppy. And there's a whole connotation with preppy clothes. If you were, really dressing in a boho aesthetic, that's going to tie you into the boho subculture. And you're saying something about yourself by going full boho with your style. And then, of course, there are traditional, garments like a sari or a kimono that are going to instantly communicate your heritage or your values or maybe even your faith. So, in Middle Eastern, or at least in Egypt, there is a traditional garment called a galabeya, which is like a long, flowy robe that, at least in modern times, is kind of worn as like a loungewear or something you wear around the house. It's kind of like a kaftan. And if I see a galabeya, like I know that is, usually like in my mind, an Egyptian grandpa or an Egyptian grandma lounging at home. Like that's the kind of clothes that you wear. So, other subcultures, like maybe it's a punk leather jacket. Maybe it's black lace and you're wearing head to toe, like gothic kind of black lace. These all communicate group membership and a worldview without saying a word. So recognizing that our clothes are sending signals is really important because we can decide which signals we want to send. If we're not aware of it, then people's perceptions of us may be skewed and we may be getting a response that we're not expecting. edgy Victorian romance. I'm going to give you, I love that. I love that. I'm going to give you a little example of this. When I was in college, I used to want to wear whatever was trendy, like whatever was trendy. Like I scoured the fashion magazines. I was into fashion from a very young age. And in high school and college, I often wore whatever was trendy without paying attention to the signals that it was sending off at my in my small town and in my small university. And I remember, wearing something that was like completely body. And I was very, very much a rule follower and not at all rebellious, but some of my clothes sent messages that I was not intending to send. I remember wearing a completely bodycon like little outfit to a party. And one of my friends was like, you're going to have like, that is not the message you are trying to send. And I was like, oh, I thought I was just being trendy. I thought I was just being stylish. And instead it looked really kind of like sexy and overtly sexy in a way that I was definitely not trying to send. So it's important to know that the messages that our clothes are sending, and then we can decide which message we want to send, right? Okay, so we all know the difference between business formal, business casual, tech casual. Wearing the wrong thing in the wrong room is like speaking the wrong language. Like wearing the wrong thing in any given room is like speaking the wrong language. And so really, if you want to get, they always say, if you want to get promoted, dress for the job that you want, you need to know what the culture is, the fashion culture in the place that you are working at or that you're going to. Okay, next thing that clothes say about us is that they signal status and power. Clothes also signal status, sometimes subtly, sometimes loudly. Luxury items, we all know that designer bags, tailored suits, expensive shoes can signal wealth or aspiration. And then minimalist aesthetics can actually signal confidence and kind of like an understated confidence. So really be thinking about kind of, and one of the things that is kind of counterintuitive is that often when you go to like a workplace, some modern workplaces, the boss can often dress a lot more relaxed than the people who are working their way to the top. So we've seen this especially in like tech workplaces. Like someone like Steve Jobs wore his uniform of like a black t-shirt or gray t-shirt, whatever it was he wore. But the people around him had to level up their style a little bit while still staying in that company culture because they weren't there yet. They weren't the boss yet. So tech CEOs wearing hoodies communicate power. It's anti-status that only works if you have status. Otherwise, you need to make a little bit more of an effort. So from scrubs to military dress blues, uniforms can really add authority and belonging, but they obviously lack individuality. I love this. I love jeans. So jeans, depending on how you dress, they can look, how you style them, they can look rebellious, they can look casual, they can look minimalist, they can look creative, they can look preppy. They really are one of those blank canvas items that can really, but they're all, most of the time they're going to signal casual, right? Okay, the next way that clothes can say something about you is that they can say something about your emotions and like personality. So clothes often hold memory and emotional weight. A wedding dress, a graduation gown, even a favorite old concert tee, these are all going to hold memories and they're going to have personal associations for us. They can also serve as armor when we need protection, or like they can kind of help us face certain situations. Like if you wear something that makes you feel a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful, maybe it is a blazer, maybe it is a minimalist outfit, maybe it is something preppy. They can really kind of like help us deflect negative things that are happening in our day. People often dress for their emotional state. Loose, soft fabrics when we want comfort, bold outfits when we want confidence, structured outfits when we want to project like professionalism. I love this. Classic. I love seeing what you guys are, what feels like you and what clothes you put on when you want to feel fabulous. So clothes aren't just fabric, they're layered with meaning. And I think it's really important to recognize that our clothes, again, make us feel a certain way, both emotionally and also outwardly, internally and outwardly. And then also they signal to other people around us, what we want to, the way that we want to be perceived. Okay, style evolution over time. So what your clothes say about you evolves over time. What I wore at 15 says something very different than what I'm wearing now at 55. So early on, clothing is often about fitting in, like blending into peer groups, chasing trends, being very literal about trends. Like I wore, and especially being in the fashion industry, through my 30s, I wore every trend that came up on the runway pretty much without any consideration for what was going to look good on me, what was going to suit my lifestyle, and what what it said about me, what those trends said about me. I love this mixture of preppy, classic, and boho femininity. I love it. Clothes. Okay, I can't wait to read that comment. Okay, clothes can be, early on, clothes are about fitting in and blending in with our peer groups. Later on, they can be about standing out strategically, curating personal style, dressing for confidence, adapting to body changes and lifestyle changes. So the goals of our clothing and why we choose our clothing and the why behind why we choose our clothing can really shift as we get older. And so again, in our teens, we want to look like everybody else. In our 50s, we want to look like ourselves. And I think that's the shift that happens. Clothes can attract people to you or keep people away. Yes. And we have definitely seen clothes that are meant to be like, okay, stand off, stand off. They do not invite interaction, and they do not appear welcoming. And it might be that the person is having either they are more inwardly focused, or they are having one of those days where they need to deflect kind of any interaction because of whatever their mood is. You're most comfortable in jeans and a sweater or tee. So really, really important to start with, how do these clothes affect my mood, my energy, my what do they do for me internally? What are my associations with these clothes first? And then second, how are other people going to respond to me in these clothes? It's a 50-50 thing, in my opinion. Start with wearing clothes that are going to give you a specific mood, a specific result in how you feel, and then pay attention. Also, the second thing is how are other people going to respond to me in these clothes? Okay, so midlife style often communicates maturity, self-assurance, and clarity. It's less about following every single trend and more about what works for me, and then filtering the trends through that lens. So again, early on, we get to dress for exclusively to blend in. And then I believe this is the era when we can dress to stand out if we want to, and do so strategically. I love this, seeing the clothes that make you feel most like you. This is so helpful. I love seeing this. Okay, let's talk about what you can take away from this. Ask yourself daily, what do I want my clothes to say today? What do I want my clothes to say today? And I want you to be paying attention to clothes that you put on that make you feel like a fraud. Make you feel like a fraud. I've talked about menswear, how it makes me feel like I am trying to be something that I'm not. Another thing that makes me feel like I'm trying to be something that I'm not is like cool styles. If I try to dress like a cool girl when I'm really at heart not a cool girl, I'm a girly girl, I'm a feminine girl, I'm not a cool girl. And when I wear cool girl clothes, I feel like a fraud. I feel fake. So ask yourself, what do I want my clothes to say today? Does your closet reflect the message you want to send, or is it sending mixed signals? You like to mix feminine and masculine, especially men's jeans. That's awesome. I am sure, Jeanette, and I have not met you, that you are a cool girl. So it's really important to pay attention to the clothes that make you feel like you, and the clothes that make you feel like a fraud. Small tweaks go a long way. Tailoring, choosing intentional colors, adding accessories that reinforce your identity. For example, one of the things that I do, if I'm wearing a blazer, jeans, and a t-shirt, I have to add feminine, creative, quirky, colorful, interesting accessories, or I don't feel like myself in those clothes. Sometimes I'll put on something more subdued, more subtle because of the setting. But if I want to feel most like myself in a basic outfit, or a pretty classic outfit like that, I need to bring in my personal style, my femininity, my creativity through accessories. Develop a signature piece. If maybe it's a scarf, maybe it's a color, maybe it's a pair of glasses. My funky glasses, my red lipstick, those are a part of my signature style. A signature piece is something that people come to associate with you, and it's something that can work across a variety of outfits, and that you almost always are wearing, that really kind of signal who you are to the people around you. It's an easy way to kind of keep that consistency and send that consistent message. The key is alignment. Your clothes, your self-perception, and the way you want to be perceived should all support one another. I'm going to repeat that. Your clothes, your self-perception, and the way that you want to be perceived should all be in alignment with each other. Love that. Classic and preppy and feminine. Okay. So this is, it's just an important conversation for us to be having with ourselves, and kind of an important way to check in with yourself. If you find that at the end of the day, you just were feeling very blah, or very like just not loving what you wore that day, not loving how you showed up that day, these are questions to be asking yourself. What do I want my clothes to say? Does my wardrobe, does my self-perception, and does the way that I want other people to perceive me, are they all congruent with each other? Are they all in alignment with each other, or are they saying different things? Do I want other people to perceive me as polished and authoritative and a boss, but I want to feel creative, quirky, and extroverted? You're going to have a lack of alignment there. And so you want to kind of just do that work with yourself and figure out whether the way that you want to feel is also the way that you want other people to perceive you. And does your wardrobe reflect that? You're a gamine and love color. Definitely see that in your clothes, Eileen. I hear my tartan and knee-high boots with tights are usually your tried and tested look. And this season, you're going to connect to yourself. I love that. Okay, let me know if I'm getting that right, Sierra. Frilly, feminine clothing makes you feel like a fraud, Paula. So it's like the opposite of me. You love menswear, tailored, but not boring. You feel boring if you get too classic, which can happen. So there are extremes of, even like, you may like menswear and tailored, but like you said, you go to one extreme, you're not going to feel like yourself. There's a sweet spot in the middle. It's the same way with me with femininity. If I go to one extreme, I'm going to feel like off. And if I go to the menswear extreme, I'm going to feel off. And somewhere in the middle is that feminine style that feels like me. It's really important when you're putting something on to ask yourself if you feel like you're wearing your clothes, or your clothes are wearing you. If you feel like you're wearing something that feels like an outward expression of who you are, or if you feel like you're wearing a costume. Those are really, really important cues. And it's way more important that you're aligned with what you're wearing than it is that you're checking a specific box that you feel like you need to have in your wardrobe. I love this. In my volunteer setting, there are explicit clothes and colors that you have to wear. So you have to accessorize in order to feel like yourself. So this is true of many people's workplaces or volunteer situations. If you're dressing for work in a uniform, whatever that uniform is, whether that uniform is like business casual or business professional, or if your uniform is a literal uniform, it might be that only your beauty choices, your jewelry choices, your accessory choices that are going to signal to the outside world and to yourself that you're still who you are, right? Scrubs, maybe your shoes that you wear with your scrubs are going to be colorful, or maybe they're going to be classic or whatever. So like it's all about taking whatever you can work with. If you've got like back in school when, my daughters wore school uniforms, they would wear really cute socks and carry, and have really cute like jewelry. So whatever you can do to express your style is an opportunity to do that. There's power in the correct accessories to make the outfit. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way that I take classic styles and make them feel like me is through accessories. Okay, so I hope that you found this helpful. What your clothes say about you is absolutely important. And I think we are, again, really kind of cramping our ability and our power, taking away some of our power if we don't acknowledge the fact that our clothes send a message and we can choose what message we want them to send. If you're ignoring that, you're not going to get the results that you want in all the different areas of your life. So I love you. I hope that you found this helpful and gave you something to think about. Again, ask yourself, do these clothes feel like me, or do they make me feel like I'm wearing a costume? Just a place to start in this journey, and also leave room for growth and leave room for change, because recognize that what feels most like you now may not have felt like you 10 years ago, and may not feel like you in 10 years. You're dressing for knee surgery, definitely find that you're getting reactions. Yeah. So what we wear is going to have an impact on people around us. And sometimes it's the impact that we want, and sometimes it's not. We can control it. Okay, love you guys so much. I hope that you found this helpful. And let me know in the comments how you dress to both get the response that you want from other people, and also feel most like yourself. Love you. Bye.